Well, I've driven in worse weather, but I've driven in better weather too. Since I'm pulling off to the side of the road for just a moment until the rain lessens up a little bit, I might as well tell you that this is a short midweek devotion from the Littleton United Methodist Church. And it does look like it's letting up a little bit, so let me get back on the road. Oh my, I don't know if this is any better. The rain's a little bit softer. I don't have my, not enough place to pull over. Boy, the wind's strong though. And I don't have my microphone, so I don't know if you can hear me. We'll give it a try. Have you ever wondered if God just enjoyed punishing people? If you ever wondered if God maybe enjoyed punishing you, or maybe didn't like you as much as other people? Well, today we're in Proverbs again, and in Proverbs chapter 3, verses 11 and 12. Now, I don't have my Bible with me. My memorizing isn't that good, so look it up. You'll do better than me. But it says something like this: My son, do not despise the Lord's discipline. Do not grow weary of the Lord's correction. For the Lord disciplines, the Lord corrects those whom he loves, as a father corrects a child. Well, I'm not going to give you answers today. I'm just going to ask you a bunch of questions. But I think I'm going to have to find a safer place. So I'll go down the road a little farther and see if I can find another spot to pull off. Okay, maybe third time's a charm. I found a spot that is a little quieter. I'm going to shut my window up here. If this spot doesn't work, I'm just going to go home and tape. I took Sue to the airport today. She's flying out to Arizona for the holidays and to visit our kids. And I just thought on the way home, I'd just pull off at a nice, kind of a nice scenic spot and tape the devotion for today. But the weather didn't cooperate. Although this is scenery, it's just its own kind. Well, let me get back to where we were. Okay, Proverbs chapter 3, verse 11 and 12, the character of God. I'm not going to give you necessarily answers or my perception. Sometimes I think that Proverbs are better if we wrestle with them and struggle with them and kind of think it out for ourselves. I will give you a couple of questions I wrestle with when I look at it, and then let you play with those questions and that may come out to a clearer view of this. The first question I always have to ask myself is a discipline and correction and punishment, are those all three the same thing? The Bible says, or Proverbs chapter 3, verse 11, tells us to not worry about, to embrace, to feel loved by God's discipline and God's correction. That may be simply a play on words. I don't know. It does seem to me a little bit like punishment is for what you did before. You know, you'll get yours. You'll get your recompense for what you did. You did something bad, and you're going to get nailed now. It's karma. And correction and discipline seem more like preparing us for the future. Okay, the next thing I have to ask myself when I'm looking at that, does it matter who's doing it? Like if God treats us like a loving father treats a son or treats a child, is that different? Or maybe a coach that sees great potential in us, is that different from somebody that really doesn't care, that's aloof, that is angry all the time anyway? Then another question that I have to ask myself when I look at that, obviously if we talk about correction, if we talk about discipline, whether it's at the Lord's hand, from the Lord's hand, or from, a judge in a courtroom or wherever it is, it's not pleasant. So I have to ask myself, is everything that's pleasant beneficial to me? And is everything that's painful harmful to me? Are there times when the pain of this moment is outweighed by the benefit of the future? When I was a little bitty kid, every once in a while I'd get, sick, just real small. I was just a toddler, like, kindergarten or something. And I would be taken into Dr. Donor, and boy, I'd start talking fast. He'd want to give me a shot, and, I did not want a shot. And I would start talking fast and talk him out of the shot. And so then the next week I was still sick, and I'd go back and he'd say, see, if you'd let me giving you that shot last week, you'd be better by now. Is it possible that there are things that we don't understand that really are for our good? Is it possible that if everything turned out the way we wanted to turn out, it would be disastrous over a lifetime? This is a proverb, and a proverb works with generalities. A proverb is there for us to learn from, to grow wisdom from, to study, to wrestle with. They're not all easy to deal with. Quite often, some of the proverbs are counterintuitive and pretty hard to deal with. So here is this one that's designed to help us look at adversity in a different way. That doesn't mean, though, that all adversity comes from God. I mean, that every bad thing that happened, like I came home today from the airport, I thought I would pull off the side of the road, and this storm hit, and oh man, God must have really gotten after me for something. It doesn't mean that all this came from God. Some comes from adversity, comes from our own foolish choices. Some may come from the evil in our world and those around us and somebody else's foolish choices. Some may just come because we're human beings and we live on this planet. I mean, right now there is a downturn in the economy just about everywhere. And if my finances struggle right now, that doesn't mean that God is singling me out to hurt me. I mean, whose finances aren't taking a dip right now? All of those could be issues. If these aren't enough things for us to wrestle with, for you to chew on, let me give you one more. How did the early church deal with this verse in Proverbs? I mean, my son, don't despise the Lord's discipline. Don't grow weary at his correction. For the Lord disciplines those, or corrects those whom he loves, as a loving father to a son or to a child. How did the early church handle that? Well, we get an example. So before you finish with this proverb and your own mulling it over in your mind, go to Hebrews, and again, I don't have my Bible with me. Go to Hebrews chapter 12. And I think you'll see in Hebrews chapter 12 that this verse is used by the early church during a time of adversity when the early church is struggling, and the author of Hebrews tells them, pulls this verse right out of Proverbs and says, and look at this as an opportunity. God is helping you to grow and strengthening you. Now, that doesn't mean we like it and everything goes well. But I will tell you this. I'm older than I used to be, as we all are. And when I look back over my 65 years, there are a lot of things that I wish I didn't have to go through at the time. But I look back and I just see so much growth during those times, and the hand of God there. I have had a lot of friends who were veterans that have told me that the military was one of the most profound experiences of their lives. It helped them grow into adults, and more than any other thing in their life, maybe, or more than most things in their life. But I haven't found many that would do it again. They pretty much all say, that time was important to me, but I wouldn't want to do it again. Well, it has been a little bit like that in my life. There are a number of things that I wouldn't be who I am had God not used them. But I don't want to go back and do it again. And I have learned, when I face tough stuff right now, to trust God. Because he's worth trusting. He's worthy of it. He's proven himself. And I noticed the rain's just about over now. It's not hammering on my windows. I can roll this window down now. Maybe. Look at that. So I think I'm going to take off and go the rest of the way home. Before I do, let me say that, as I say each week, this is halfway through the week, or maybe a little more than halfway by the time you get this one. It may be some of you are going through a really hard time. It may be some of you think God's just there trying to put the hammer down on you for some little thing you think you've done wrong. Let me tell you, God can take the junk of life and make something good out of it. And my prayer for you is this week, that whatever you're going through, that God makes something good come out of it. May God bless you.